Okay, I can start. Okay, so the timer starts actually kind of a little bit after I actually start the game, but that's doesn't make a difference. You can start when I pick the outfit. So I'm gonna count down from 5, and whenever you're ready. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So Resident Evil 3, very well known as RNG 3, because there's RNG in almost every room in this game. The start is pretty simple. We just walk up to the zombie and take a forced bite. We do that because it's the easier way. It's after this cutscene right here, which is one of the only unskippable cutscenes in the game, by the way, we get a free heal, so we go back to full HP.
September 28th, daylight.
One of the major reset points happens within 2 minutes of the run. And you'll see why in a little bit, or not, maybe it all goes well. Now, in the next 2 doors, you're gonna see something funny. We're gonna enter here, we're gonna trigger this, and we're gonna leave the room. Why? Because we need the zombies' positions to reset. Because we need to grab something that's inside there. Okay, not very good RNG. Now they can be blocking the stairs, fortunately they are not. Okay, we got a pretty clean basement actually. This is usually one of the biggest reset points of the game. But you got a very clean exit. Usually sometimes they go down the stairs and they block your path. It takes you like over 10 seconds to leave. So you might as well just reset. I'm gonna follow Brad into this restaurant. And now we grab the other part of the lighter. In the basement we grab the lighter fuel. And that was the lighter, if I'm not mistaken. So that we can do this. Burn this rope so we can get through this door. Fortunately on the PC version it is the only version in which we can skip the doors. On PS1 you're gonna have to watch the door scenes. Now this is one of those, in this game you can make decisions on these Nemesis encounters and it will change how the story will go throughout the game. But for the speedrun we're just gonna always pick the first decision. That's bad RNG when you have that zombie on the floor. Okay, third try. There's 4 possible codes there. You want it to be the first you input. And in this case it was the third. The order of the codes is irrelevant, but I input them in that order because 0131 is the fastest one to input. Now this part of the game recently had a major change in the leaderboards, because in that locker where I just grabbed that weapon, as you saw, sometimes can spawn a magnum. But recently it was allowed the use of something called the GL tool, which means that if a magnum had showed up, I'd still have a grenade launcher. That allows us to pick the category that we're running. Okay, I'll take this safe way around because that zombie was on the floor, so that we avoid a bite there. Usually if you're going for PB attempts you want to risk it, but in this case we have pretty good HP, so let's conserve it. Now this part is pretty linear, we're just gonna run through hallways. So I can explain a little bit about the door skips. You may notice that some doors, like this one, I wait a little bit before skipping, and some I skip immediately. It has something to do with the soundtrack of the rooms that we crossed into. If the next room has the same audio as the previous one, you can skip the door fast, like immediately. If it does not, then you have to skip it slow, because it probably has something to do with the game loading up the audio for the next room. If you skip them fast, you're gonna waste a little bit of time. Okay, pretty nice dodge. Sometimes those zombies can go turbo and grab you, and you have no chance to dodge them. Now, here's another situation where we pick the first option. We want to hide down there.
This way.
As you can see, this is very fast paced. There's a lot going on at the same time. Okay, so I lost a little bit of time because I pushed him twice, but I did not take damage. There's a mechanic in this game where if you press aim right in the few frames before the zombie is going to grab you, Jill can push them off, like what you just saw. But if you press it too late, she will still aim after you push him, and that's not very good. As you saw, I lost a little bit of time. And sometimes you will take the bite anyway. I have no idea why the game devs decided to make the game like that, or if it was on purpose or not, but for speedrun purposes it's quite bad. You might as well just take the bite. Okay, the zombie turboed. We push him off. He's not supposed to turbo, but sometimes it happens. But gladly we didn't take a bite, because we want to use one heal throughout the city, the one that I just grabbed down there. Okay, these next few rooms, more just running. I like this pattern because it's easier on the way back to dodge the zombies, in my opinion. Now this next room, it can spawn dogs or zombies. We want dogs because we can just run through them, as you can see. But if it were zombies, I would have to shoot that barrel and kill the zombies because they were all gathered up in front of that box that we just climbed. This is what happens when you press skip cutscene too fast. You enter the map because the button you use to skip cutscenes is actually the map button. Yeah, sometimes they aggro and still give you a bite, but it's nothing too bad. Because they don't deal as much damage as a zombie bite, so you can still take the same amount of zombie bites as before, unless something else happens in the meantime. Now this part, we had to take a forced bite here, and pray the zombies all fall down. Unfortunately they did not. So that we can leave and not take any more grabs, like just happened. So this was actually bad RNG. Now we're gonna replace that book with another piece that we're gonna place on that statue. That's blocked over here. Now this next zombie can decide to turbo on me and grab me. Fortunately he didn't. So we can get a free pass through these two zombies, which is pretty nice. Now we're gonna... Now bad news, we're gonna have to go in there again. The zombies are still here. Okay, we almost got through Immaculate, but unfortunately we took a bite there. But it was still quite fast. The only slow thing was the fact that I had to heal. Okay, nice, we got the dodge on this zombie. Conserve health. Now what we're doing, we're collecting items throughout the city to make that train that we were in work. So that's what we're doing right now. We went to the train and realized that we needed those items. And here we're gonna grab the fuse. And in case you're wondering, I didn't answer it at the start. We have Chinese text on because it's the fastest text on item pickups. It saves up a whole bunch of time in the end. So Nemesis is chasing us. That is bad. That makes this door over here a slow door. So now we're approaching one of the... It can be decisive depending on your PD, parts of the run, which is the pharmacy. You have a computer that has 3 potential passwords. You always input the password SAFSPRINT first, because it has a 66% chance of being the password. Second, you put Adderall, has a 22% chance, and if you're really unlucky, the password is Aquacure, which has a 11% chance. Now, I don't know if these statistics are true or not, but it is what is known. Always as the truth. can be a potential 14 to 15 second time loss if it's Aqua Cure, depending on how fast the inputs on the keyboard are. Okay, fortunately we had good RNG because it was staff sprint, but my inputs were a little bit slow. Which means if this were a PB attempt, we'd still waste the time. Now we're gonna have to usually take another forced bite here. And we hope the zombies all fall down so we can get to the door faster. Okay, they didn't, but it wasn't bad. Okay, unfortunately, it happened to us the dodge and aim thing that usually happens if you dodge too late. And since both the zombies turboed, that was really bad. Now we're heading back to the train, but there's still two things missing for making the train work, the cable car work. One of them we didn't grab on the first passage because there were the dogs there, and because of inventory purposes, which isn't here. In this car right here. Another decision making, which will be having the first choice. Fortunately, the zombies did not decide to be aggressive, so they let me through. In this next room, they can also be aggressive. This zombie particularly, he just did, as you see. I had no way to dodge that, because he went into turbo mode right at the last second. Now it comes to me one of the hardest dodges of the game, because I have to turn right, do a quick turn. Okay, I didn't get the dodge because the second zombie was still too close to the corner. But usually that second zombie also advances and you have a free pass. Okay, so in here in the gas station, we're gonna grab the last piece necessary for the cable car. This puzzle is also RNG, and it's one of the hardest puzzles to understand at start, because there are like I think 9 possible solutions, and you have to quickly adjust to which one of the solutions it is, because it all has to be which lights are on and which of the letters you need to put. Okay, this zombie also decided to turbo, which is quite bad. So I'm gonna have to take this heal that I just grabbed because of that possibility. That's the problem with that RNG. Although I like it more, it has the possibility of that specific zombie turboing on you when you enter that room in this section. Now this enemy, the worm, we're gonna face him later in the game. For this part, we're just gonna run away. Trigger this ladder and leave. Well, apparently I wasn't in the trigger. Now, if you've noticed, we still haven't fought Nemesis once. That is because we're playing any percent, in which you basically skip almost all Nemesis battles except for 3.
No, the brakes are out.
But there is a category in this game called Nemesis percent, in which you fight him in almost all encounters, except for this one actually. This one on the train you do not. It's all the encounters that he drops an item, because when you defeat him, every time you defeat Nemesis, he drops an item. Now this is good RNG. You want these gunpowders to spawn here, because they will allow you to skip through a cutscene in which Carlos, the dude you just saw on the train, will give you grenade launcher rounds, because your inventory is full. So he will not give them to you, and you can skip having him give it to you. In this next room. But it can happen that the gunpowder spawn later, so you will have to sit through the cutscene of him giving you the freeze rounds. Now we made freeze rounds out of the gunpowder. Clear the inventory for that key. Which is another aspect that's better about having early powders. Because if you have late powders, you can only make fire rounds, which are worst for the first fight we're gonna have with Nemesis on this clock tower. Now you see these spiders right here? They can decide to poison you at any minute. That's bad. Because when you're poisoned, you're losing health at every room. Okay, 1, 2, 3 changes. You can go from 1 to 6 changes in this music box. The solution is always the same, but the way they are placed when you get here is always different. The best one is obviously 1 change. It's always up, down, up, down, up. Again, we choose the first option. We're almost approaching the first battle with Nemesis. That key was to unlock this room. Okay, fortunately... Oops, unfortunately the spider poisoned me, like I told you. It could happen at any time. Okay, 11. I didn't see the time because I got distracted by the fact of getting poisoned, but you usually look at what time it is when you enter the room. So the order you place those orbs depends on the time that's on this center clock when you enter the room. There's 4 different solutions. It can be 11, 9, 5, or 7. So I'm gonna heal here the poison, because we don't want to die at the Nemesis fight. Although it would be safe, let's not risk it, because I have a decent amount of HP. So the reason I only equipped the grenade launcher here is because Jill runs slower with two-handed weapons equipped. So that would decrease our running speed. Okay.
I'm sorry, Jill.
That was the first battle we had with
Please,
Nemesis,
wake up!
but he poisoned Jill with the T-virus. And now we're gonna play as Carlos and go to the hospital
October 1st.
to
Night.
retrieve the cure,
I woke up to the sound of falling rain.
which is one of the biggest run killers also of this run. As you noticed, I changed from the machine gun to the pistol to run faster. Now there's something called YOLO Carlos that we can do with the hospital, because there's a room where you have to push a cabinet into one of 4 corners. And YOLOing it is, you usually check the solution in the room before, but you can go into that room and basically risk one of the corners. You only risk on a 50% chance because the cabinet that you push is going to have drawers that are going to face one or the other side. Depending on the side that it's facing, it narrows it down to 2 solutions.
There also appears to be a slight fracture in his right arm just below the elbow. However,
So this is bad RNG. When the zombies spawn on this floor, it's very bad, because you're gonna have to dodge through them to go in between the rooms. They can spawn in any of the 3 floors, and this is the worst of them for that to happen, basically. See, that's why. So the solution, you check it here. Oh, I didn't have to see. So since the solution is 325, I know exactly the corner I should push this cabinet to. This is not very good. The one you want is 531, which is the one that's closest to its starting position. Okay, fortunately they behaved, because sometimes that second zombie near the elevator can turbo, and that will be very bad. This puzzle has no RNG, solution is always the same. 1, 3, and A. One of the few puzzles in this game that always has the same solution, and no RNG. So it's entirely execution based. So you want to take that back step to lure that second hunter close enough to die with the explosion. Whichever room the zombies spawn, there will be hunters in the other 2 rooms. Now we're returning with the cure for Jill. Here's the nice spider that poisoned us. Again, we don't fight him. Now we want to grab the knife, because we're going to need it for a fight later in the game. We're also going to need this. Now whether you grab this mine thrower or not depends on whether you had late powders or early powders. Now we're about to head out to the worm boss fight, which has one of the hardest tricks in the game, if not the hardest. For me it is the hardest, which is called the one cycle worm. Okay, this zombie did not aggro, which is bad. This is bad RNG, by the way. In that bridge, it can spawn either zombies or hunters. I got the worst kind of park RNG, which is zombies and hunters. Because you can just run through them, they won't even harm you. So I was talking about the worm. As you may have noticed, when in this game, when you shoot the grenade launcher, if you press aim in a certain amount of frames when she's reloading her weapon, she will shoot again without having that usual delay between shots. So in that fight, you want to take 8 quick shots before she buries into the ground, and you lose like over possibly 20 seconds, because you're gonna have to wait for her to become killable again.
Oh my god!
So we just made acid rounds for the fight with those 2 gunpowders that we just grabbed.
I'm quite...
Okay, unfortunately I dropped the last quick shot because she gave me the good RNG in which I could have done 1 cycle. So now we have to wait for her to rise between 3 to 5 times before she rises again and becomes killable. In some people's cases, they actually mostly can't PB unless they get that 1 cycle, the 1 cycle worm. In my case, there's still quite a bit of time save to be able to do it without it, although it's always helpful to have it, let's just say. Okay, hopefully now the hunters will not aggro. This one did. Okay, this one jumped. You want the next one to jump too? Nice. Now we're heading into the final stage of the run. That factory.
Stars.
Again, we picked the first option. Now, we're getting close to a room that's also a run killer for a lot of people, me included. It's in the sewers, and it can spawn hunters, which are those guys that you saw on the bridge, or worms, which is what we want. This is what we want. This is the good RNG. Fortunately, because hunters can keep scratching you and preventing you from climbing that ledge, costing you a lot of time, and even eventually killing you. You and your run. Now, this is another puzzle that's RNG, and we know the solution based on the position of the first two. It's medium empty, which means it's bad RNG, because we have to make the most changes. Now we're heading into one of the hardest fights in the game for me, if not the hardest. I mean, doing one cycle worm is hard, but fighting the worm isn't. Now, fighting this boss takes a lot of precision and timing, and is one of my biggest run killers. I have lost the possibility of great PBs in this next boss fight that's coming up. It's the second Nemesis encounter. So the way we do this fight, we're gonna stab 3 acid valves that are gonna spill onto him, but we have to position ourselves and time the stabs perfectly so that he gets hit by the acid. Now the first 2 are mostly execution, but the last one can sometimes have naughty or Nemesis RNG. Now we will take the first stab when he takes his second step, the second stab when he says stars, and the third is a little bit based on his position. Okay, so he gave us good RNG. This is the optimal fight. This is all. But sometimes he doesn't advance on the third one, on the third valve, and you can waste quite some time, and he doesn't even get hit by the acids.
Missile attack confirmed. All personnel evacuate. immediately.
We're closing in on the final boss battle, which is also going to be against Nemesis, but a different Nemesis than what we're used to seeing.
Warning.
Now this zombie right here standing is known as the bastard zombie because it killed a time under 41 minutes, which would be the first one ever in history of speedruns of this game, because he turboed at the last minute and put the world record holder Ultron into caution.
Checking data. Warning. There is not enough power to activate the system.
So what's gonna kill Nemesis in this fight isn't gonna exactly be us, but that giant cannon that we just saw. But we want to drop Nemesis' HP down enough so that he only takes one cannon shot to die. Yes, this is Nemesis. First we want to push these three things to activate the cannon. Okay, so we had bad RNG because he dropped on the left side. We wanted him to drop in front of us, which means he's blocking the way. We want to go in front of the cannon to lure him there, but if he's standing in the way, we can't get through. Yeah, this is what happens when you have this RNG. Now he's possibly gonna climb back on top. I don't know what he's gonna do. Yep. This is bad. We're probably gonna take an extra cycle to kill him because he's up there again. We didn't drop his health down enough to kill him in one cycle, basically. So now he's gonna die. So when you have the other type of RNG, he drops actually on the other side. So you can immediately come over here, do your damage to him, and it's done.
Enter cooldown mode.
So only one more thing to do, and in this case, this is the only case in the entire run where we're gonna choose the second option, because the first one will add about 30 seconds of an extra cutscene, which we don't want. Time's gonna come up.
Jill! Over here!
Not yet. When this cutscene fades away. Now.
And now we have a rather unfortunate turn of events. It seems that the President and the Federal Council have passed judgment over the civilians of Raccoon City.
Sorry.
The President and Federal Council have ruled that the Bacillus Terminate operation is the
This
best course of
credit
action.
scene is unskippable, so I don't know if you guys want me just wait for the
Based on that fact, Raccoon City has been literally wiped off.
for the credits to play to see the final time, or if I just take it off.
Hearts go out to those poor civilians of Raccoon City.
You like the credits music? Okay, then I guess I'll let it play. It's just 1 minute or so. Still within the time, I think. The ETA. Okay, so I hope you guys liked it. This game is so entertaining to both run and watch, because the RNG might seem annoying, but it's not at the same time, because it's what keeps the run fresh for me. Because you're always doing a different run. Every run is different. You have to adapt and overcome every time that you replay. Thank you, Kainer. Music and speech motivational. Thank you, Cave. Stay thirsty. Sonic 521. I didn't have the Twitch window open, so I'm just the first time looking at chat, so that's why I was just rambling. I didn't want to pause mid-run, so... Okay, the time on my side says 43:45. I see on the channel says 43:58. Yeah, 43:45. Not bad for a no reset. So thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you for having me on the September Powerhouse Marathon. Good luck with the rest of the marathon. And Kainer, good luck with your cool spot run. And everyone else with their runs. Thank you.